now I would like to introduce the today's speaker, Dr. Mrityunjay Chaubey. Dr. Mrityunjay Chaubey is sustainability, environment, and water technology expert of international repute. He has a PhD in environmental engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Delhi. He has nearly 23 years of professional working experience in renowned MNCs, Penchair, Shell, Unilever, and UPL in the field of sustainability, environmental engineering, water and wastewater treatment. Currently, more than 100 environmental protection technologies are successfully working in Asia, Africa, Europe, and America designed by him. Dr. Chaubey is having experience of working in cross-cultural environment at Netherlands, Italy, Turkey, Singapore, Brunei, Malaysia, Dubai, USA, Libya, Indonesia, Russia, China, and South Africa. More than 50 technical papers have been published in renowned international and conferences with his name. Dr. Chaubey is currently working as Global Vice President, Environment and Sustainability with UPL Limited. Recently, Dr. Chaubey is awarded with Most Influential Sustainability Leader Award and CSO of the Year Award. So without wasting any time, I would like to offer this platform to Dr. Chaubey. And we all are very eagerly waiting to hear you from sir. Very warm welcome from SRICT and Environment Department. Over to you, sir.
Ma'am, excuse me, can I get 2 minutes, please, ma'am?
Yes,
this
sir,
is Dr.
please.
Snehal. Ma'am,
Yes,
I like to welcome our chairman, Sandra ma'am. She has also joined recently. Sandra ma'am, ma'am, are you audible? Sandra ma'am?
I think she might be muted, sir. Karthik sir, can you see, please?
Hello.
Okay, so now I'm unmuted. You can
yes,
hear.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Welcome. Very warm welcome, ma'am. Good evening.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Did a very good job of introduction.
Ma'am, we would like to hear from you for just for 2 minutes, ma'am, if it's possible.
Yeah.
Just a welcome.
Raju bhai has joined me.
Raju sir, good evening. Good evening, Raju sir.
Good evening, Raju sir. I would like to welcome you on the behalf of Shroff College and Environment Department. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining. Thanks a lot. Yeah. It means a lot for all of us, sir.
Thank you. Now carry on.
Yes. Now we're going to have a very interesting presentation by Dr. Chaubey, and he's going to will understand how expensive it is to do zero liquid discharge for projects. We are actually doing it in our company. It's being led by Dr. Chaubey, and it is a challenge, and it's very expensive. And he will put it in its right perspective. We need to listen to people such as Dr. Chaubey, and we can learn a lot. Raju bhai, would you like to say something?
No, carry on.
So Raju bhai says carry on. He won't say anything.
Afterwards, I may say.
Afterwards, he'll say something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raju bhai, also.
Over to you, Dr. Chaubey.
Okay. So, good evening. Good evening to all of you. Thanks to Pratibha ma'am who have organized, and she has given me call maybe 2 weeks back. So we were thinking that what topic we need to present, and I thought that at this moment of time, zero liquid discharge, ZLD, is a very good topic where we need to discuss. I think we are thankful to participants also, because we got information that more than 1,500 participants have registered in this webinar, but due to constraint of Zoom, we may not accommodate all. And so what we will do, we are recording this, and we will make it online available to other participants also to hear. I feel that ZLD is very important at this moment of time, because some of the advantage is also associated with ZLD, but some of the things which we need to discuss and we need to very clear also with ZLD. And also the background of this discussion in industry is this, that up to this moment of time, what was happening, that ZLD was on industry to decide if they feel that it is useful for them, especially in those areas where the treated effluent discharge facility is not available, or in those areas where very extreme water scarcity is there. So industry himself used to adopt ZLD. But right now, I think 4 or 5 months back, Ministry of Environment Forest along with Central Pollution Control Board, they have made mandatory and compulsory ZLD for the red category industry, irrespective of area, irrespective of region. And I think that today we will discuss that what is ZLD, what all available technologies are with us, that also I shall discuss during this discussion. And then we will discuss feasibility of ZLD. We will discuss environmental feasibility as well as economic feasibility, because both feasibility we need to understand. And then also at end of presentation, I will try to discuss that what is the alternative to ZLD, because we need to have an alternate solution, and you will be happy that we have a very good alternate solution also available. So instead of ZLD, we can adopt those solutions, so that we will discuss during discussion. And at the last, I shall discuss some of the best practices we have adopted at UPL for the wastewater treatment, where we can avoid the ZLD, but we can achieve very good result in terms of environment protection and effluent treatment. So next slide. Karthik, please go to the next slide. Okay, so first, this is just a brief introduction of zero liquid discharge. So zero liquid discharge means that whatever waste we are generating inside the premises, that should be treated in such a way that all the water we reclaim inside the premises, and only solid waste goes to the secured landfill site. So actually in ZLD, our approach happens to recover 100% water, and only solid waste need to be go to the secured landfill. And here I think ZLD is good for those areas where there is not adequate facility available for the disposal of treated wastewater, and also the water scarcity is extreme. But in this discussion, what we will discuss the coastal area, especially the area like Ankleshwar and coastal area where we have very good facility of effluent discharge inside sea. So we will see that whether there ZLD is required or no. And during this discussion, we will find the answer. Now coming to the ZLD, normally if you see the conventional practice at this moment of time in industry, then the conventional practice is first people send the effluent to the effluent treatment plant, and they do the primary and secondary treatment. After that, they adopt membrane technology, and membrane technology may be the UF and RO. And there they remove salt concentration, means it's concentrate the salt up to 6 to 8%, and the brine or reject of RO, that they used to send to evaporator and later on crystallizer. So combinedly we say ME, multi-effect evaporator. So this is the conventional method right now industry is using, and we will see in this presentation that how the other technologies are also there, and how the economic and the environmental feasibility of these systems are as far as environment is concerned. So go to the next slide. So Karthik, next slide.
Yeah, I have changed the slide, sir. I have changed the slide.
Right, right. Okay. So here you will see various technologies which we are using for the ZLD, and at UPL our approach is to minimize the ME because multi-effect evaporator consume huge power and huge CO2 emission happen. So our approach is adopt the technology which are consuming less power and techno-economic solution. So you can see that we have used nearly 4 major technology inside our UPL operating plant to treat the effluent and achieve the zero liquid discharge. And those are, first is a scale ban. A scale ban is a new sustainable technology where the treated wastewater can be sent to cooling tower, and there will be no scaling of cooling tower, and treated wastewater can be recycled up to 250,000 ppm TDS. So by this way, we reduce the abstracted water demand by using a scale ban in our cooling tower. Second technology is RO. So RO, reverse osmosis, is very popular. Karthik, go to the back. I will come on this. This is a treatment scheme, but let me first explain these are the technology. So RO, I will not go into detail because these people know very well. Third is the forward osmosis. Karthik, go to the next.
Yeah. There is a timeline, sir.
So forward osmosis is a technology which uses drawdown solution of effluent, and this is very good technology to treat high TDS and high COD effluent, and the power consumption happens to be very minimum with this technology. First time in the chemical industry, UPL has installed forward osmosis. We have installed in our Ankleshwar Unit 1, and this is the first time you can see in the chemical industry worldwide that we have adopted this forward osmosis technology, and this is very good for the treatment of effluent where the moderate COD and the high TDS happens to be. And the last technology is ME, multi-effect evaporator. So that is also working inside our plant, and we are using this technology only in that situation where very high COD, very high TDS effluent is coming, and it's not possible to treat with a scale ban, RO and FO, then only we utilize ME technology. So now I think the summary is this, that concept of establishment of ZLD may be good, but it cannot be generalized and implemented over the entire country as it's emitting more CO2, more carbon emission happen, and more hazardous solid waste associated with zero liquid discharge. Now go to the next slide, Karthik. We will go on the next slide where I shall take time to explain that how we have adopted zero liquid discharge inside our UPL operating plants. And here you can see in the slide that first we have adopted a stream segregation. So at a normal conventional method, people used to send all the effluent at one place and then they treat with common effluent treatment plant inside operating plant. But at UPL, we have adopted first approach of segregation, and we have segregated the stream into green stream, yellow stream, and red stream. So you will see that green stream effluent means the TDS below 5,000 ppm and COD less than 10,000 ppm. So all the effluent coming in this range, we say as a green stream, and we segregate it at source, and then we send for the biological treatment, which normally people use activated sludge process or membrane bioreactor, and by that way we used to treat our green stream. Then yellow stream, we segregate where the TDS is below 1 lakh ppm and above 5,000 ppm, and COD is below 20,000 ppm. This we send to the forward osmosis or OH radical, and here the advanced oxidation or advanced membrane technology we use. And the third stream we segregate as a red stream, where very high polluting, high COD and high TDS effluent get generated, that we channelized to multi-effect evaporator. So I think this is very important for industry to segregate first the stream into green, yellow and red. And advantage of segregating is this, that you will find that nearly 60%, here I have given just an example that suppose 100 KLD effluent get generated inside a chemical complex, then approximately 60%, 60 KLD will be the green, 30% will be yellow and 10% will be red. That is our experience inside our UPL operating plant. Maybe this vary from industry to industry, but here the logic is that red stream, which is very polluting in nature, their quantity is very small, but if you are not segregating, then entire effluent treatment plant goes into the problem. So segregation is very important. Now the application of appropriate technology is very important, which you have seen. We have applied for green stream, we have applied either activated sludge process or membrane bioreactor, MBBR. For yellow stream, we have applied forward osmosis technology, and some of the other plant we have applied OH radical also, advanced oxidation process, and for red stream, ME. Now you can see that the treatment from the treated effluent from the biological treatment directly goes to a scale ban, and from a scale ban 100% you can utilize into the cooling tower. And from forward osmosis, nearly 10% reject get generated, and that 10% reject goes again to a scale ban, and we can utilize into the cooling tower. And 90% from forward osmosis, we can recover very clean water, and that can be used for any purposes inside the plant. Similarly, from the ME, we can recover the water through condensation, and that can be also used inside the plant. Only the solid waste which get generated from the ETP and from the ME area, that goes to secured landfill. So I think this is the way wherever we feel that we want to implement ZLD at UPL, we are trying to implement, and that is the one sustainable scheme which I have shared with the audience. So go to the next. I think next slide, we will see how the economics and other things are there in zero liquid discharge. So just slide is getting changed.
The slide is shared, sir.
Karthik, change the slide.
I have changed it, sir. I have changed it. I changed the slide. Yeah. Sir, the slide is visible to you? No?
But you
Not
change.
changed, sir. Not changed.
Still not.
Sir, it is the ZLD technologies at a glance. That's the slide, right?
But it's not coming on the screen.
Yeah.
Here it is not reflected here till now.
Yeah.
Now it's coming.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yes, yes.
So I think this is very important slide where we will understand that how power consumption and capital cost is associated with various ZLD technology. So I have explained that there is a scale ban, there is RO, forward osmosis, vacuum distillation, and multi-effect evaporator. You will see the power consumption is very minimum in a scale ban. It is between up to 2.5 kilowatt hour per cubic meter of product water produced. Then RO consumes slightly more power than the scale ban, up to 2.5 to 5 kilowatt hour per cubic meter of product water. Forward osmosis is even consume more power than the RO. And if you see the AME, multi-effect evaporator, that consume between 25 to 40 kilowatt hour per cubic meter of treated water. So multi-effect evaporator AME consume much more higher power, and so while adopting the zero liquid discharge, we have to see that first we will utilize a scale band, then if at all required RO, then forward osmosis, vacuum distillation, and at last AME. So this is the economics how goes along with power. In terms of capital cost also, if you see, the capital cost associated with AME is very high. It is between 1,500 to 3,000 rupees per cubic meter of water produced. And if you see the RO and the scale band, their capital cost is very lesser. So this is the reason why we have adopted number of technology, and we first given preference that let's first treat the water with a scale band, then RO, then forward osmosis, and then with the AME. Go to the next slide.
Yeah.
So I think this is the main economics associated with various ZLD. Later on, we will see that what is difference cost between the ZLD and other technology. Now, this is one of the slide where you can see that at UPL, we have adopted ZLD at 60% of plant globally. And you can see the picture of one plant, unit 2 at Ankleshwar, where we have achieved zero liquid discharge. You can see at Tarapur, there we have achieved zero liquid discharge. And also the Halol plant, there also we have achieved zero liquid discharge. Go to the next slide. So at this moment of time, globally, if you see, then 60% of our operating plant are zero liquid discharge. Now this was about the ZLD. Now let us see that how the feasibility associated with the ZLD. And my personal view, because we have implemented several ZLD inside UPL, even I have associated to implement ZLD at Unilever also. I had worked in the SAIL also. So I have experience of nearly 23-year global experience, and I feel that ZLD is not a environment friendly technology, especially in coastal area. So in coastal area, ZLD is no more environment friendly, and so why we don't recommend ZLD in coastal area. And here, this is the reason you can understand. First, see the environmental feasibility. So what I have done in this presentation, one is if ZLD is not there and just implement a effluent treatment plant and treated water discharge to the sea or suitable discharge system, one is that mechanism. And second case is if you want to implement ZLD. So there is a comparison. If you see the power consumption, then power consumption between conventional treatment plant where you can achieve the required result and send to the treated effluent to the sea discharge, then you can see the power consumption is very low. And if you want to implement zero liquid discharge, then power consumption is 4 times higher. Similarly, CO2 emission is also 4 times higher in the ZLD. Solid waste generation is nearly 2 times higher in ZLD, and chemical consumption is 2 times higher in ZLD. And if you see the economic feasibility, then capital cost is also 2.5 times higher in ZLD, and operating cost is 3 times higher in ZLD. So I think we want to show with this slide, with the practical experience and data, that the installation of effluent treatment plant and treat it with required parameter and then send for the suitable disposal, that is a better option than implementing ZLD And in coastal area, I think there is no problem of disposal of treated effluent because adequate sea discharge are available. And especially if you see the Ankleshwar area, then we have very good sea discharge facility available. It is comparable with the world-class system what happens in the US. So if you see the USA deep sea discharge system, and if you compare at the Bharuch and Ankleshwar area what we have adopted deep sea discharge system, it is equally good. It is better than even what system in USA is. We have a very good facility for deep sea discharge where we are sending the treated wastewater to 10 kilometers inside the deep sea, and through diffuser we are discharging. So I think in coastal area where suitable effluent discharge systems are available, we must continue with the system of treating the effluent and then dispose into sea rather than switching over to ZLD, because ZLD consume more power, more CO2 emission, more solid waste generation and more chemical consumption. Go to the next slide. Next slide will be just a summary of what right now I have explained, that how the, no, go to the back, yes. So this is just a summary how the power consumption is associated in ETP to meet discharge norms and ETP to meet ZLD norms. And very clearly you can see that power consumption is 4 times higher, CO2 emission is 4 times higher, solid waste generation is 2 times higher, chemical consumption is 2 times higher in ZLD, capital cost is 2.5 times higher, and operating cost 3 times higher in ZLD. Now go to the next slide. Next slide, we will understand that what is the alternate solution of ZLD, and that I want to cover and at end of this, because if we don't want to implement ZLD, then what is alternate solution especially in coastal area? And here you can see the ZLD water cost is 750 to 1200 rupees per cubic meter. And if you installed desalination, means in coastal area, very good amount of seawater is available, and we may have a desalination plant, and if we can install, then we will get a water 50 to 80 rupees per cubic meter. So desalinated water is better choice than ZLD water. Then the third option I have compared, sewage water. So normally right now municipality is treating the sewage and then they are discharging into the water bodies. I think the better option is those treated sewage can be made available to industry, and if we will treat the treated sewage, then the cost of treatment will be between 30 to 35 rupees per cubic meter, and the using treated sewage will be a better option than the ZLD water inside the plant. And fourth is the rainwater. So rainwater is a very good, but that is available only in rainy season. But I think in rainy season, we should adopt more and more rainwater use inside our operating plant. And at UPL, we have implemented in most of unit, where in rainy season, we treat the rainwater and utilize inside the plant. So we don't send to the recharge into the ground. We never send into our operating plant into ground. We only collect the rainwater, treat it and utilize inside the operation. And I think that is a very good way, because the cost is also very less with the rainwater. So I think with this, here we are suggesting that if at all our MOEF or Central Pollution Control Board feel that in interest of water scarcity, if they want ZLD, then here the logic is that instead of ZLD, we can get water from the desalinated water, sewage water and rain water, and that is a better option than the ZLD water. So my request, our request to the Central Pollution Control Board and Ministry of Environment Forest is they should consider this alternative proposal, and they should not make compulsory to the industry around the coastal area, where at this moment of time they are saying compulsory do the ZLD. I think we should not make compulsory. We should try to think some other sustainable alternative, and we have suggested in this presentation 3 other sustainable options against the ZLD, where we can get a good quality water at affordable cost. Go to the next slide. So I think this is the slide where again we are discussing that inside the industry we should adopt certain good practices. We should focus, instead of ZLD, we should focus on the fresh water consumption at source itself. And at this moment of time at UPL, what we are doing, we are focusing more toward reducing the water at source itself. And we have taken target in 2016 that by 2020 we will reduce 30% water consumption at source per cubic meter per ton of production, and that we have achieved. Now again we have revised our target that by 2025, further from the 2020 baseline, we will further reduce 30% water consumption inside our plant. And I think that is the best sustainable way, where we should work to reduce the water consumption at source itself rather than concentrating on the zero liquid discharge. Second best option is effluent upstream identification, characterization and segregation. I think this is the one way by which we can treat our effluent in a better way, and the performance can be enhanced, and this is the best way of the effluent treatment. And then the third is we should adopt a sustainable technology for the effluent recycling. We should always think that wherever possible, we should try to maximize the recycling and reuse of wastewater inside the plant. And last is desalinated water, treated wastewater from the sewage and rainwater. We should try to use maximum in the operating plant rather than concentrating on the zero liquid discharge water. And go to the next slide. Next slide, we will see what all are the best practices in wastewater treatment. And we feel that here, if you see, then the best way is first work on reduce the water consumption at source itself. Then the second best option is recycle. You maximize the recycle of water inside the operation. The third priority is segregate, where I have told that you do the segregation of effluent and then treat inside the ETP. And then option is treat very well such that it can meet the discharge norm. And incineration and disposal is the last option. I think we should try to avoid incineration as much as possible. And that's the reason why we want that we should not adopt more and more AMI, because AMI is also nothing but incineration. And we end with the huge carbon emission and solid waste generation. So I think the summary is that we must have to adopt a structured approach inside our operation to manage the complex effluent treatment. Go to the next. I think in the interest of time, I will summarize my presentation, and the conclusion is this. If you see all our presentation conclusion, go to the next. The conclusion is that concept of establishment of ZLD may be good, but we cannot implement over entire country, and we cannot make a uniform regulation entire region, entire country that go for ZLD. ZLD may be good for those areas where the treated wastewater facility is not available and where water scarcity is very extreme. So maybe in those areas we can partially adopt ZLD, but ZLD is not good for the coastal area. And third, our conclusion with this discussion is that in coastal area, no longer ZLD is a environment friendly technology. I think in coastal area, we should must focus on a very good deep sea discharge facility where we can treat the effluent well and send for the deep sea discharge disposal. And for water, we should concentrate more on the desalinated water. We should concentrate more on the rainwater, and also the treated sewage water can be utilized inside the industry. Those are an economic and good option than the ZLD water. And I think for industry, the summary is this, that we must have to adopt a structured approach toward the effluent treatment plant, and we must have to adopt a sustainable technology, and industry must have to think that how we can reduce our environment footprint, especially the water consumption and CO2 emission. But at the same time, in this discussion, we want to request our regulatory body, especially Ministry of Environment, Forest and Central Pollution Control Board, that this is request of industry that please go and study the ZLD concept, and ZLD should not be made mandatory in the coastal area. Right now, because of SEPI, they have made compulsory ZLD. So industry don't have choice to adopt ZLD, and people are adopting also under compulsion. But this is our request from the regulatory body that visit the feasibility of ZLD and thereafter and adopt those better instead of ZLD. So I think in the interest of time, I will conclude my presentation, and now it's open for the question and answer session.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Choube. This is Parmeshwaran. You have covered all the points. So this is a very good UPL. Mainly 3 plants have implemented, and these ZLD systems are working well. Very nice. And but it is a challenging job. The team has to take and very careful care. Otherwise, it will fail.
Right. Right. So I thank you to you. Good system has been adopted, and that's why I told that wherever possible, wherever it is feasible, at UPL we try to implement ZLD. We are not against the concept of ZLD, but only we want that wherever it's feasible, only there adopt. If it's not feasible, then don't adopt.
Thank you, sir, for the very informative presentation. We have a lot of questions in the chat box. I think as we have limited time, we can pick a couple of questions and answer them. Rest we can answer through their mail and other way of communication. Would it be fine, sir?
Right. Yes.
Yes. So I will simply tell you a few questions from the chat box. The first question is actually a common one, that can we have a copy of the slideshow? So yes, I will be sending you the copy of the slide to all the participants who have attended the session. So don't worry about it, and attendance is also marked. So you'll be getting the certificate. So there is no worry on that part. Another question is that, this question is for you, sir. Are you facing any fouling issue because of 20,000 ppm COD?
So fouling issue in which, because we have adopted various technology, and technology wise fouling issue go on increasing. So may I understand for which technology question is?
Actually, this has not been mentioned here. It is a. I don't know who has
I
asked
think
this.
if you see, I have explained 3-4 technology. So there is no issue of falling in a scale band. But yes, in membrane technology, especially RO and forward osmosis, yes, falling happens. But relatively in forward osmosis, less falling happen, and RO more falling happen because of organic impurity. So what we have done, we have adopted ultrafiltration as a pre-treatment before RO, and then we found solution of fouling of RO membrane.
Okay. Next question is, sir, how to segregate into red, green, and yellow streams?
So I think this is a very simple and when we started inside UPL, then we also feel that it will be very complicated, but it's very simple. Just you see wherever the TDS is below 5000 ppm, that you take as a greener stream and just collect at one place. Wherever the TDS is between more than 5000 and less than 1 lakh ppm, you can segregate at other place. And wherever TDS is very high, more than 1 lakh ppm, you segregate in the radar stream. And that's where you can segregate in 3 and you can adopt the respective technology for treatment of these streams.
So the one person has asked that only TDS you have considered. Any chemical property like BOD, COD criteria, can you consider that also?
Yes, COD also we have considered. If you go through our presentation, then first criteria is TDS and second is COD. So COD is for green stream. We have considered COD less than 10,000 ppm, and for yellow stream, it will be less than 20,000 ppm. And if it's more than 20,000 ppm COD, then normally we send to the red stream. But it is approximate. I think some 10% plus minus variation is possible, and a very good, you can have a sensing instrument inside the pipeline, and you can sense and automatically the segregation can be done. And in some of the plant, if atomization is not there, then manually also it is possible. Actually, we have made it possible inside UPL. So based upon our practical experience, we are saying that it's doable, and very good results come in terms of treatment, in terms of cost optimization.
Okay, sir. Next question is ZLD system, how much relevant it is in the textile processing industry?
So in textile industry, I think in many areas, like I have visited in one of the plant near Ahmedabad, and ZLD was there. So wherever, if the water availability is a problem, if water is not available and treated wastewater discharge facility is not available, then I think ZLD is very good in textile industry because they need a very huge amount of water. But at the same time, if water availability is there and good discharge system is available, then even in textile industry, we no need to focus on ZLD. Just treat very well and achieve the disposal norm and then dispose.
So there is one question that if we need to control oil and grease and TSS only, in that case, which technology would be better for treating wastewater?
I think for oil and grease, especially like refinery or oil company, API or CPI, corrugated plate interceptor is very good. And when I was at Shell, maybe 10 years back, then we have adopted at several places inside the Shell operation CPI and CPI. Corrugated plate interceptor, those work very well for the segregation of oil. And as far as COD is concerned, I think the biological treatments are good. They also reduce COD. And if COD-BOD ratio is not favorable for the biological treatment, then you may go for the advanced oxidation also. So that will also workable. At this moment of time, we have a very good experience with forward osmosis also, because in forward osmosis also we able to reduce COD. So I think many number of technologies are there for the reduction of COD.
Another question is, how can store CO2 that is from ZLD scheme? I think it is related to one of your slide where you have mentioned ZLD and then CO2 reduction comparison of different technologies.
Can I make a question clear? Because
question is that how can we store CO2 that is generated from ZLD schemes?
Okay, so that is an entirely different subject where now various people are working that how the CO2 can be stored and utilized for different purposes. So at this moment of time, only 1-2 places, only on pilot basis, it's coming. It's not popular at this moment of time in industry. So let's wait. Let it be popular. Let it be available on commercial scale, and then we will see. Actually, by principle, it's very good that it should be a store, it should be utilized. But at this moment of time, the availability at commercial scale and the implementation is very minimum. So that we have to see.
Now, sir, I think we can take a last question. How will you bring about water consumption reduction initiative? So few main ways you can, if you can throw some light on that, how the reduction initiatives can be taken at industries.
I think as I discussed in presentation, I feel personally that the best way is to work at source. Means at source itself, we should try to reduce the water consumption inside the operation. One example I have given in my presentation, a scale van. If you will adopt a scale van technology, then you can use the treated wastewater in cooling tower, and you can recycle the same water up to 250,000 ppm TDS. So you can reduce a very huge amount of water which is coming from the operating plant. I think if you see any manufacturing plant, then 60% water get consumed in utility and mostly in cooling tower. So if you have decreased water demand in cooling tower, then you have reduced the abstracted water demand. So I think our approach should be reduce water at source, and also think the big where it can be reduced in a big way, like utility area, which consumes 60% water from the total water demand. And the other thing is increase the recycling, because at several stream with very minimum treatment, there itself you can recycle and reuse inside the operation. So that is also one way by which you can reduce the water demand.
Okay, sir, thank you. I think we are reaching to the concluding time. So I would like to invite Panjwani sir to speak for a couple of minutes to share his views on the session.
Yeah, thank you, Pratibha, and good evening to all of you. Let me introduce myself. I'm the Vice Chairman of the college and Executive Director of UPL. I thank Dr. Chobe for an excellent presentation. Need of the hour, the industry has to work out the alternatives. He has talked about zero liquid discharge and also said that what are the alternatives available. He has also talked about how we should represent to the ministries and the government authorities. I will also like to tell all of you that today water is available at some places, is not available at some places. If you go to Chennai, water is not available. Luckily in Gujarat, situation is better. But last 1 year ago, we also had a problem in Gujarat. So maybe after 10 years, 15 years, the water will be scared. So the time for us to work on such technologies so that we become self-sufficient and keep on recycling water, As Mrs. Pratibha Gautam has already told you what our college is doing, and we have a unique department on environment, science and technology, which has been promoted by UPL and other companies, including Rotary Club of Ankleshwar. The lot of expertise is available within the college, but a lot of technical people like Dr. Chobe, Dr. Parmeshwaran, Mr. Dalwari, and the UPL group companies and the other industry experts are available. So if you have any, suggestion or comments, or if you want any consultancy, if you want any research work, just write to Pratibha Gautam, and she will come back to you with a solution and how we can work together through the college research activities or consultancy activities, and it can be a win-win situation for all of us. Sunday evening, normally we enjoy with families, but under this COVID-19 situation, the Sunday to Saturday, morning or evening are same, So I am very happy that such a good response on a technical subject at Sunday evening, and that shows the interest people have in environment, and the people want to learn more. People are anxious to know what is happening, and so I sincerely thank all of you for your presence, including the chairman of our company, Rajubhai Shroff, and vice chairman, Mrs. Sandra Shroff, who have been present and listening to all this presentation. Thank you all, and
Thank you.
there's a participation from all over India. Rajubhai, you would like to say something before we close?
Well, one thing I wanted to tell to Dr. Chobe, that you did not say that sea discharge in USA is much better, whereas sea discharge in India is very, very low. So that part should be highlighted. If you adopt international norms, then treatment will be easy, sea discharge will be much more viable. So that part you did not say. What is the difference between India and USA?
Yes, so actually that I have not explained because I have concentrated on ZLD. But yes, I think if we see the norm, US EPA norm for the deep sea discharge, then they are allowing for the COD very higher as compared to what our norm in India. So here in India, is allowing just 250 COD maximum inside the deep sea, and if we see the US EPA norm, especially for the chemical industry, then it is much more higher than 250. It is maybe in the range of 3,000 to 4,000 ppm. So I think the norm in India for the deep sea discharge is very stringent as compared to US EPA norm, and that need to aligned, and we must align our norms with the international norm.
Good. Thank you.
I would also request Sandra ma'am if she can give some concluding remark on the session.
Yeah, I think that there are two things that I would like to stress. One of them is that we cannot do water harvesting for underground storage in our factories. But that does not stop us as companies going into the rural areas and finding places where we have forests and doing water harvesting there. UPL in the CSR team are doing that. At Ankleshwar, we have adopted an area where we have developed ponds, and we have developed a water harvesting system in a forest area. This will build up the underground water reserves. And what is happening in India is that we are draining our underground water reserves to a situation where the water underground supply is becoming critical. Whereas India has a huge rainfall, and it's such a pity that we can't restore the water that we've taken from the ground back to the ground during the monsoon. This, I think, the industries have to do for their own survival, because, as Mr. Panjwani said, in 10 years' time, we probably will have a great scarcity of water. So I would like to have a program, a presentation on that. And then there was one other thing I wanted to have a presentation on. Okay, I think I've forgotten that, but this is very important. Going off-site from factories and creating water harvesting areas in villages, in forest areas. Okay. So can we organize a presentation on that?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. I will put on your suggestion, and we will do that. We will conduct that.
Yes.
I'm sure
Yeah, we'll do
Dr.
it.
Chaubey can help. And
We are on the conference call. You with Arjun. Davis.
We have got some other suggestions also. We have got some requests for such technical webinars on some other topics also. And this is a very much informative session. And ma'am, thank you for your suggestion. We will definitely include that, and we will definitely have one more session with the suggested topic. With this, I would like to conclude the session, and I would like to thank all the participants and all the motivating factors for us: Sandra ma'am, Raju sir, Panjwani sir, Dalwadi sir, Parmeshwaran sir, and of course our speakers of the today's session, Dr. Mrityunjay Chaubey, and all the participants from different industries. I can see there are so many people from industries as well as from academician, research institute, students are there. So a very big thanks to all. We have seen that there are a lot of comments, there are a lot of messages, a lot of requests are there. Don't worry, we will answer each and every query through your mail. We will send the answer of your queries. We will share the presentation and certificate on your email ID. And for any other queries, any other kind of technical expertise, you can always contact us. I have shared my email ID and my mobile number, our contact. So if any kind of association you want, any kind of R&D work, research work, or technical expertise you want, you can always contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you out. All the suggestions are so much welcome. We would also request you to share your feedback through email IDs. So with this, we will conclude the session. Thank you all. Thanks for attending the session.
Thank you. Thank you. Good.
thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Joseph. Joseph.